Our gut microbiome affects everything from our mood to our metabolism, our energy levels, and our overall health status. Find out how to improve yours next. Hi everyone, Floyd Meyer here with Catalyst Impacts, and today we're going to be talking all about gut health and why it's so important to have a healthy gut and how we can foster a healthy gut microbiome. Now, fun fact, the bacteria in our guts actually outnumber us by cell count by 10 times. So there are 10 times as many bacterial cells in our gut as there are human cells in our entire bodies. And this collective of these bacteria in our guts are what we call the microbiome. And this has become an extremely popular type of research recently because scientists and health providers of all different kinds are finally learning how important this microbiome is to our overall health status. And again, it affects everything. It affects your mood. It affects what foods you crave. It affects your inflammation levels. It controls things like serotonin production, and it's your overall health status, how your immune system works, all of that stuff. And that's why it's been getting so much publicity lately, and why so many people are writing different articles, because all of these different scientists are now finally studying it and seeing how powerful this microbiome actually is. And it really makes you wonder, since they outnumber us by so much, who is actually in control? Are they controlling us, or are we controlling them? And I think that we are controlling them, and that's because ultimately we can control what types of bacteria are in our microbiome by controlling the different foods that we eat. And that's because the way that these bacteria live is off of the foods that we eat. They can't produce their own energy source, so they rely on us to eat foods, and then they break that food down. And specifically, the thing that they are looking for, the thing that those bacteria can eat, is fiber. And I'm sure you guys have heard about fiber and how important it is, and you may have seen the little fiber containers that you can get, either the individual ones or the big ones that you scoop in. But that is just one type of fiber, and that really doesn't give you everything that you need. So really what these bacteria need, the goal is you want to have an extremely diverse array of these bacteria in your gut. What you don't want is you don't want one or two types of bacteria being extremely plentiful and them overcrowding all of the other types of bacteria. What you want is a type of rainforest in your gut. You want many different types of bacteria in there that all do different things, and they should be in a type of balance. And in order to do that, they have to get different types of fiber, because each of the different strains of bacteria are going to be eating different types of fiber. They're going to like different things. Just like you like certain foods, I like different foods. It's the same thing. So these bacteria are going to like different foods more, and they're only going to be able to use those types of foods. So that's why it's really important in your diet. You want to have a very wide array of different fibrous foods that you're eating, so that you can help to grow these different bacteria in your gut so that you can have a very healthy microbiome. So some foods that I would definitely recommend that you would be eating, and again, it's not just having one kind, it's having all of them, because you're trying to foster those different types of bacteria so that you can have a very strong ecosystem of this microbiome in you. So some foods that I really like are sweet potatoes. There are greens, and this can be greens of all different kinds. Broccoli, bok choy, spinach, kale, all of those. Beets are extremely good. Any type of whole fruit, so this isn't fruit juices or fruit concentrates. Those have had the fiber removed from them, but eating whole fruits, things like apples and bananas and papaya, definitely berries, things like that, they're all going to have fiber that isn't going to break down. And then obviously beans and lentils are extremely, they have a lot of fiber in them, so those can be very effective to culturing this microbiome. And that's really kind of how I think about it in my own body, is that I am culturing this community of these bacteria in my gut, and I want certain bacteria there, and I want to not have other types of bacteria. And in order to get the healthy bacteria that we want, the ones that are going to help us produce serotonin, which is going to improve our mood, the ones that are going to create what's called short chain fatty acids, these are going to be things that are produced when they're breaking down this different fiber, and that's actually, we can use that for fuel. And so we cannot digest this fiber, but they can, and the byproducts that they create, then we can use that as fuel. So we can use those short chain fatty acids for energy, and they can also be used as signaling molecules. So one of the things that they do is they help us to feel fuller after our meals, and so we don't crave foods in between. And if you have a healthy microbiome, this is something that is basically being done for you, and you're having these bacteria work for you so that you get all of these beneficial effects. And another thing that I really want to point out is that what happens if you are not getting enough fiber? So say you're the standard American. So actually, the average American is eating anywhere between 10 to 15 grams of fiber per day. And if you contrast that to our hunter-gatherer ancestors, or people, they've actually done studies, there are still certain people in the world that are living a predominantly hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and they've analyzed them and looked at how much fiber that they are actually eating. And those people, they're eating between 100 to 150 grams of fiber each day. So that's 1,000% decrease that we are eating currently than what we used to eat. And obviously this is going to cause our gut microbiome to become starved because they don't have the fiber that they need. They're not eating all of these foods. They're not getting the fiber that they need in order to actually be able to grow and function. So what they do is they start to break down the sugars that are lining our intestinal lining. So we have in your gut, you have your intestines, and that's where you are absorbing these different foods, and that's where these gut bacteria actually live. And so when they're starved because they're getting 1,000% less of food that they should be getting, then they start to break down our own intestinal lining. And specifically, there's a glycoprotein in there called mucin. And this mucin is secreted by our own cells, and it's supposed to create a barrier. And that barrier is what separates our immune system from these gut bacteria. So if these bacteria, they start getting really hungry, you're not feeding them, they start to break down that gut lining, that's what leads to something you may have heard, it's called leaky gut. And so now we are having these holes in our gut where this mucin is breaking down, and then when your immune system comes into contact with these bacteria, what happens is our immune system launches an inflammatory response because it sees these bacteria and it doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know that if you have an upper respiratory infection or if it's just that these bacteria are in our gut and now they're coming into contact. Your immune system can't tell the difference. So it releases this inflammatory cascade, increase in inflammation, and it doesn't just increase inflammation in your gut. Those inflammatory chemicals, those cytokines, are going to circulate throughout your entire body. They're going to get into your bloodstream and they are going to cause inflammation everywhere. So if this is happening day after day, week after week, year after year, that you're not getting enough of this fiber and these bacteria in your gut are starving and they're breaking down your gut lining, that's what leads to chronic systemic inflammation. And that's the type of inflammation that has been linked to all kinds of different diseases, from heart disease to cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's. All of these diseases have been linked to this chronic systemic inflammation. And a lot of it can be tied to our overall gut health. So the things that you really want to be doing, you want to be making sure that you are eating a lot of fiber-rich foods. And again, this isn't just simply about getting a fiber supplement. I mean, you can get some different fiber supplements, but usually that's only going to be one type of fiber. Either they're going to put inulin in it or a different type of fiber in that. And that isn't going to create that diverse ecosystem of these gut bacteria that we actually need in order to be functioning at our optimal levels. And so what you want to make sure that you're doing, make sure that you're eating as many fiber-rich foods as you can. You can't start out like immediately. You can't go from 10 to 150 grams of fiber. That's going to kind of wreak havoc on your GI system. But over time, add these foods in. Start adding in some real whole foods. You're going to feel better because you're going to be getting more nutrients. And then you're also going to feel better because you're going to be feeding these gut bacteria. And they're going to do so many good things for us. Moving forward, next week, we're going to be talking about how probiotics play into all this. Should you be taking probiotics? Is it necessary or not? So make sure that you guys have subscribed to my channel. Click that button down below if you haven't already. So again, this is Floyd Meyer with Catalyst Impacts, signing off.